border faster. Boom, going to the max. No, I'm going to the max. No, I'm going to the max.
Managing partner of the Digit Group, Ms. Yuniel Yi. Co-founder of Avarta, Ms. Belinda Lim. Founder, Women in Blockchain Philippines, Ms. Gail Macapagal. To join them will be our moderator, the co-founder, Miami NFT Week, Eric Lapalia.
Good morning, everybody. I've got to say, I've had the opportunity to do panels like this and speaking around the world. The energy that you guys are bringing this morning is absolutely infectious. I see you. Yes, exactly, the energy. So shout out to that. That's really well done. And to the organizers, this event has been simply phenomenal thus far. Let's take a quick second, and I do briefly, I don't want the history of you guys, but give me a couple sentences of who you are and why you're here.
Hey, I am Gareth, and I work for nChain as a product manager. And I've spent the last decade basically being a very boring guy implementing enterprise business software. But now I'm in the blockchain space, and we're looking at layer 3 applications for enterprise, government, that kind of thing. That's what I'm doing now. Thank you.
All right, hi, I'm Yuniel from Seoul, Korea. So I'm a co-founder and CBO of Community Alliance Network. We also provide no-code engine for startups and enterprises and organizations who want to implement a new business model in Web3. Crypto since 2017, and experienced a lot of ups and downs. So I think now is the best time for us to build a community. So yeah, let's move on to that. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Belinda. I come from Singapore, and this is my first time here in Manila, so I'm really excited to be here. I'm the co-founder of MeTree.io. So what we do is that we are building a non-custodial wallet, helping to bridge Web 2 to Web 3. So no hassle for the MetaMask setup. With one click, you get your wallet. So for us, we are quite lucky. We are usually focused in Indonesia. We are invested by Kakao Games and EVOS, or esports.
Thank you. Gail Cruz Macapagal, Country Director of DynaQuest Technology Services. We are an award-winning blockchain solutions provider. I am also part of the 100 most influential Filipino women on LinkedIn for 2021 and 2022. I am also the founder of Women in Blockchain Philippines. And just recently, let me share this to the world. I just recently won the Wirex and Cryptonomist the Women in Crypto Power List 2022. Out of 232 nominees around the world, when I found out that I was a nominee, I said, nah, I'm not gonna win. I'm just a Filipina, I'm just a simple woman, but then I won. So I'm part of the 13 winners. And this award or this recognition is not just for me. As founder of Women in Blockchain, this is for all the women in this room, all the women in the Philippines, and all the empowered women in blockchain.
Absolutely. And let me actually also acknowledge this. I sit on a lot of these panels. It is normally all white dudes. And the fact that we have 3 powerhouse women here, that's a testament to what is available in this space. There are no rules. We can do whatever we want. We don't have to conform to what's been done in the past. And so if you're within the earshot of my voice, every woman that you know, say something to them. Tell them about the opportunity that's available in Web3. Because we're here to talk about mass adoption, and we're all in this space. And so we think oh my God, it's been such a long time, but we are really, really, really early. The largest exchange in the world still has less than 75 million users. Guys, there are 8 billion people on the planet. We are nowhere near there. So what do you see as the catalyst? How do we go from, say, collectively a few hundred million to 2 or 3 billion in the next 2 to 3 to 5 years?
I'll take that, I guess. Okay, I come at this from a very old school approach. I remember studying computer science many years ago now. I'm getting terribly old. And one of the things that stuck with me from that was the concept of the technology acceptance model. It's a really basic model that they teach you when they talk about adoption, they talk about getting users involved. It's been iterated on over the course of years, and I've forgotten most of the iterations. I really just remember the first one. And the kind of key two inputs for that were, okay, do users, who are obviously the people we need to adopt things, do those users see something as useful, and do they see it as easy to use? And my challenge really in this space is, I don't think most people outside of the blockchain space do see our technologies as, they don't perceive them as useful, they don't perceive them as easy to use. And bear in mind there's a distinction between being useful and being easy to use and people seeing it that way. And I could ramble on about this for a while, and I'm going to stop and let other people talk, but my challenge is, I think people don't have the right perception, and I think the first thing we need to do is change that perception. I will make one more point before I'm quiet on this, and that is, in order to start changing opinions, we need to build apps that deliver people value, and then we need to get people using those apps and then telling their friends, their business partners, etc. about them. But please, someone else, take this point away from me.
Yeah, I think that's really a very crucial point to get mass adoption, the usability and the acceptance from the bottom of the culture and the business models and everything. So I totally agree with that. And the usability is not only about the end users, but also the business owners and the enterprises and the startups who actually run services with a million users. They also have a lot of difficulties when they want to get into the Web3. So not just because of the fractionized or frictions or some barriers of the tech, but also because of the fear that they have to pivot everything into Web3. But the reality is the VR business models and a lot of VR world economy is not solely supported by Web3 only. So we have to prepare for this hybrid mode of Web 2 and Web 3. So that is why a lot of conversations going on with the bridging Web 2 and Web 3. So in that way, actually, that is why I also, evolve into this project and giving them the chance to run their business in legacy services, implementing some of the beauty of the Web3 so that it can give a lot of hybrid environments, and that way the users will not get lost, and it's just another feature that they unlock, so it's very natural. So those kind of natural user flows and navigation is really important in my point of view.
Okay, for me, I think the best kind of technology is when you don't see it, right? I think for mass adoption, I think that's the key point. I think I came from the cloud computing industry. At the point in time, everyone is talking about cloud. I think it's the same thing as talking about blockchain right now. But I think if we go past the stage of adoption, people no longer have to talk about it anymore. So to me, that's the success, when you hear people talking about this is what I'm using without having to mention blockchain. So I think that, to me, is the number one thing in terms of how I see things. I think that another thing that affects the mass adoption is actually use cases. In 2017, the only use case is for trading, right? It's currency, we keep it Bitcoin and then hope that it rises. So I think in the past 3 years, we have seen a lot of new use cases like your GameFi, your DeFi, then your NFTs. For NFTs for business. So I think that this, to me, is one of the biggest factor to increase the mass adoption in the space, and I think the industry is actually picking up. I think we have a lot of good initiative, like people trying to use NFT for supply chain, or even travel, blockchain travel using NFT. So I think that I'm very excited to see what the industry can innovate and make that happen even faster. And I think for blockchain to be sustainable and going mass adoption, this use case has to be really solid and with good business models. and they have to be sustainable because they have to make money in order to go for it, right? You can't just be tokenomics and you spend like 70% of your budget on marketing and then 30% on product. So I think we should go to the next stage of like building better products for everyone. I think that linked to my final point on infrastructure. Agree on all the pointers. There's a lot of friction in the market. I think with the new new use cases, the whole entire infrastructure would be starting to catch up because we have now more business for the infra guys like myself to collaborate with and to have like a bigger market share. So I think that these 3 points are the key catalysts. Sorry, you asked for one, but I gave like 3.
Yeah, I love this question. So early this morning, my boss sent me an article written by the former DICT Undersecretary Monchito Ibrahim. And this is what he said. He said that not even a whole of government approach would be enough. It must be a national strategy that will be built on a whole of nation platform. And the digital natives will have to play a very important role in the development of that strategy. So I think this is not just a government approach, but a nationwide approach that we should start blockchain education. We should start, are you familiar of the concept of the sari-sari store? Here in the Philippines, we have sari-sari stores. If in your countries you have 7-Elevens, here in your home, you can build a store and you can sell whatever you want. So we go down to the very grassroots of our nation, of our community, and build the blockchain world. And for example, for the indigenous people in the mountains in Region 13, Caraga region, that's why we want this to be from the bottom up so that no one will be left behind for mass adoption of blockchain.
Well, that's the ballgame. I mean, how do you get this not in our hands, but the layperson on the street? And how do you remove the friction? I mean, you guys all brought it up in one way or another. There is a lot of contempt prior to investigation for most people about blockchain. Oh, it's a scam, I don't trust it. I mean, you get luminaries in the financial space like Jamie Dimon saying, it's a fraud. But then follow his money. Over the last couple of years, he's hired 4,000 cryptologists, and he's in the background building the world's largest blockchain project in Onyx. And so it's like, how do you those two statements don't coincide. And so for me, I look at what Starbucks is doing. They've got 25 million installed users in the US, and I think a little more than 100 million worldwide on their app. And they're going with NFTs for their loyalty program. People in the street will never know what that is. It's just another way to transact business. And so removing that friction when that $5 transaction is automatically a blockchain transaction and they don't know it, how do we get there? Because I see so many companies who just don't understand the opportunity. And for my money, NFTs will become the backbone of the way we do transactional business as we know it. I can't imagine anything in this world that won't have a digital tether to it in, say, 7 to 10 years from now. And so what do you see as that catalyst? What are you working on? You talked about a non-custodial wallet for gaming. That, I love that. And two areas that I've seen mass adoption of technological innovation over the years. Gaming is one of them. And I'm sad to say, but it's very true, is the pornography industry. Many of the infrastructure and payment gateways that we have on the web today were born from that. And so I see a lot of projects in that space where they're already embracing blockchain technology. They're already building these massive metaverses. And so what does that look like to you? What are you passionate about? You're staking your, flag in the ground and saying, that's for me. So go.
Well, as you mentioned, Starbucks, not just about the gaming industry right now, but most of a lot of different sectors are navigating their new chances and opportunities in Web3. And nonetheless, I think creators economy, the fan economy actually can be a really, really big thing in Web3. So for the fan economy, what do you need? The fans, right? So the legacy businesses who already have their concrete fan base or the user community, they can actually very easily convert into current business model into Web3 way. And in that way, they can actually benefit more to their community and fans. So that area is like, you know, the focusing area for us for the mass adoption from the enterprise sizes. And then like, you know, if some of the well-known industry players come into the Web3, like, you know, the fashion, you know, for example, some of the fashion brands, they already have a great hypes, you know, Supreme and, you know, those names. We can name a lot of other like indie designers who have a local fan base, a very, very strong local fan base, right? They can actually give out NFTs to their holders and everyone. So those kind of like use cases will give other inspirations for the street level of the shari shops or some local brands to have more inspirations, and then they can implement a new business out of that. So yeah, I think, you know, this kind of like a lot of different sectoral use cases should come out, but at the center of it, the fans and the communities, the real users should be the bottom line of the, you know, the transition.
Well, that's what it's going to be powered by, is the people. But your point is well taken, because Dolce & Gabbana has already done many successful drops. Nike's made close to $200 million in this space already. What do you think, Gail?
Me, I'm really a big fan of education. So I want to...
Well, it's the silver bullet. It's what changes everything.
That's right. So I really want to see the Philippine curriculum to start injecting blockchain as early as grade school, high school, senior high school, and college. And that way, these kids can go back to their parents and educate the parents. Hey, mom, dad, I heard about blockchain. Blockchain is amazing. Blockchain can do a lot of things. And so we will do a reverse. From the kids in the school go back home and tell their parents, Mom, you have to learn about blockchain.
Well, it's criminal, and I can speak primarily to the US. It is criminal what we do to our kids with the stunning lack of financial education that we give them. We do not arm them with the proper tools to be successful young adults, because they don't have that educational base and understanding of even rudimentary financial transactions. And so I think the impetus for that could be blockchain, because that's sexy and it's new, and it could be something that excites the kids.
So for me, like my passion is in mass adoption because I'm here right now, right? But I think to me, fundamentally, why do you need mass adoption? Because with blockchain, right, we are able to serve a wider range of people. So in fact, like during COVID, I think more women went into employment compared to pre-COVID time, because a lot of them are able to find jobs in the whole entire Web3 internet space. So with blockchain, right, everybody can have a wallet and start, you know, like being part of the whole entire ecosystem. And generally speaking, I think in blockchain, the culture is very open. People don't discriminate you. If you are willing to learn, people are willing to teach you. So to me, it's a bit of giving more people the access of an alternate way to life, especially in developing economies. I think Philippines has proved themselves, like, you know, we really one of the earliest adopter in GameFi. And I think right now what we're seeing is that this is an inspiring example for other countries in the region. In fact, they are like, hey, you know, in Philippines, people can do it, so can we? And how do we get in right now? And so I think that to me is very exciting, because imagine like a lot of people will not have ability to find a proper job outside. But with blockchain, they can be like a content creator, they can be like a community manager, and then they can find new jobs in the whole entire metaverse and like Web3 space. So I think that is what keeps me going and breathing better products, because we need to get there one day.
Let me talk about two ways I'm hopeful that this is occurring sort of naturally, but maybe not quickly, but it's still occurring. The first thing I want to talk about is this in comparison to cloud, because I remember back in the days when cloud was a new technology, and people were kind of saying, why? Why would I?
The cloud was voodoo. Like, people, like, they really didn't want it.
Totally. And you had these, you know, C-suite people going like, we must move to cloud. And like, I don't think they knew what they were talking about, if I'm perfectly honest. Because ultimately, guys, we're just talking about databases here. This is not something you normally talk about, and you probably shouldn't be talking about it. But the point is, people had this concept. It was a very different way of doing things. As you say, it was voodoo. no one knew if they should try it out. Many people said it was a fad. I'm sure at some point I thought it was a fad. I'm pretty certain I didn't believe. But then people kind of came to realize, or after a few people did the maths and had a go, and kind of came to realize that actually getting rid of all the complexity of, having an internal infrastructure organization, like, it just makes life easier. And now cloud is what it is. Like, AWS is almost a household name. Probably not in normal households, but in households like mine.
It's the biggest business segment of Amazon by far.
Exactly. And this is what I'm kind of saying is, like, the maths for blockchain adds up. And I will, after I stop rambling about, I'm going to go on one other point, and then I'll get to this, but it adds up, and I think we are getting there because it adds up, and it's just a matter of getting it used in enterprise, in government, and just having people see it add value to those daily processes in their life. The other thing I want to talk about, again, why I'm hopeful, is video conferencing. So obviously, video conferencing has been a long thing for a long time. Skype, we all forget Skype, but it made it like let us talk to our friends and loved ones in other countries. But one place it didn't really penetrate that well until quite recently was business. We have obviously in London, I can't speak for everyone, but very few of us go into the office on Fridays anymore. We all, WFH, work from home. And that wasn't the case the whole time. But during the pandemic, I think he was my program manager, he WhatsApped me a meme, and the meme said, who was responsible for the technological transformation of your organization? CEO, CTO, COVID-19. And like COVID-19 gave us the environment where we just adopted this technology that was functional, was built, was there, and we just didn't adopt it pretty much due to cultural reasons. Then the environment changed, and we all did. The environment, thankfully, has somewhat changed back to normal. Not fully, but it's kind of back kind of in a pre-2020 way. But we now have this change. And so again, the reason I'm hopeful here is I think we will wind up having a natural adoption cycle, and we may get pressured, probably by like competition and business, to be fair in this case, to just adopt it. So I will answer your question though, because I somewhat skirted it and talked about other things. What I'm working on and passionate about, I'm looking at CBDCs a lot of the time. That's a very loaded term that I don't want to unpack here. It means central bank digital currencies. There's a whole lot of different ways you could implement those, and there's a whole big discussion, which it's not really this panel's place to do. But I see central banks, some of the most respected and aged organizations in the world, using distributed ledger technology in their experiments with CBDCs. I see the Swiss National Bank. We all know the Swiss have a proud financial history. They've run projects such as Project Helvetia, where they've used distributed ledgers to basically prove that settlement can be done more quickly on them. If people like that are doing it, then it's going to happen. Okay, that was a long point, but thank you for giving me the time to make it.
No, absolutely, and that is a fascinating thread that we could pull on because we are going there. Like the digital dollar, the digital yuan, it's here, it's on the cusp. So on short time, I want to know what project you're tracking that is not your own that you're most excited about. You? Or you? So whoever.
I'm excited about the project of Ida Mock. Ida, are you here? It's called Spool, and it has a lot of healthcare benefits alongside it. She explained that to me when I was at the launch of the Women in Blockchain Asia. So she's going to speak later so we can learn more about Spool. There.
I think after FTX, to be honest, I closed it for a while. So maybe you can ask me after a few more weeks. I don't really have something I'm tracking at the moment.
Shout out to Sandbox, though. You're there, too, and I'm really loving what they're doing.
But it's like, not my company, right? So anyway, I work for Sandbox in Singapore.
Well, there are a lot of like good projects working on right now in especially for this mass adoption part. But rather just mentioning one or two projects, I'd love to see, like Reddit's NFTs, a lot of mass user bases services to come into the Web3, and then they give out a lot of new terminologies, like the vault instead of wallets, and the digital avatar instead of NFT. So it's like human readable languages so that the users do not actually fear about it. So yeah, I'll just look for more projects like that to come.
So it's not a specific project, but in my spare time, I play too many video games. I'm very interested to see the progression of the use of NFTs in gaming, which has huge challenges. It's not like you can't just create items that move between games because there's a whole load of other asset creation that is required to do that. But I'm very interested to see how people bring that technology forward. So it's not a specific project, but I want to see how that space evolves.
Well, for legacy projects, it's a problem. For traditional games, but anything new, I think that there's a massive opportunity. And, the unfortunate truth in humanity is all growth is born through pain. And so you brought up COVID as a catalyst for, us accepting Zoom as a way of doing business. And so as we move forward, I think financial markets will experience pain, and we'll see the opportunity for Web3 to step up and really be that leadership position. But the problem is a decentralized organization, a decentralized technology doesn't have that one voice. And so it's incumbent upon everybody in this room on this panel to be out there and be the very best cheerleader for the space. So I want to thank these guys. This has been an amazing conversation, and I can't thank you enough.
Philippine Blockchain Week. See you next year.